What's going on, everybody? Dev Del Molino here, the synthesizer of opinions, and I'm back with a review and a rant. We got a 2-for-1 for today. It's kind of like a beer and a shot, except today you'll be drinking me and my opinions. Today we have two things to talk about. The first is going to be the Ye album by Kanye West, and the next thing is going to be a rant, a discussion, a bone to pick with Kanye West fans. And by Kanye West fans, I mean you. Let's start with this. Kanye West is back with his 8th studio album. Each of Kanye West's albums thus far represent its time frame for Kanye very vividly and very distinctly amongst one another. Well, Kanye has essentially outdone himself with what I would call the South Park method of confining this window of recording the album within like a week to 2 weeks before actually putting it online. And another new thing here with Kanye West in terms of dropping a project, when I think Kanye West album, I typically think big budget production. Whereas with this project, it's going to be much quieter, much more modest. It's only 7 tracks long, 24 minutes in length. And how does that pan out in the music? Well, I'm going to start by talking about my 3 favorite songs, the 3 songs on the album that I think are truly and totally phenomenal. The first is the first song on the album, I Thought About Killing You. This song is unlike anything I've ever heard Kanye do ever. I've never actually heard Kanye try to sound crazy on a song. In most cases, his personality is going to bleed into his lyrics so much that, yes, he'll sound a little crazy because he is very crazy. But never have I actually seen Kanye try to depict his mental instability through those lyrics and embrace or discuss the darker, more vulnerable thoughts in his head. There are 2 things that stick with me. The first being that phrase, I thought about killing you today. Premeditated murder, because I think about killing myself, and of course I love myself more than I love you, so you better believe I thought about killing you today. Premeditated murder. And the other being in my last favorite song to talk about. So let's move forward into Wouldn't Leave. This track is beautiful from the very beginning with the Party Next Door hook. I did not know this was Party Next Door at first. I thought it was Young Thug. How Party Next Door can write and perform for other people in other contexts, in other spaces. How he can manage to do that, be interesting, dependable, solid, and simultaneously be so boring and so predictable with his own music is completely beyond me. But he absolutely smashes this hook. And Kanye comes in and sweeps up the rest of this thing with some of his sweetest vocals and lyrics to date. It's almost my favorite song on the album, but Ghost Town is certainly giving this song a run for its money. Ghost Town is so fucking epic. First thing, the sample that kicks this song off is like the perfect bed of soul to lay me down to rest. And then, yes, Kid Cudi comes in with some pretty unkempt vocals, but you know what? I cannot hear that when I'm screaming these lyrics at the top of my lungs. At the end of the song comes the second refrain of the album that will remain with me as I move forward and away from this thing. It's the I put my hand on the stove to see if it still bleeds, and nothing hurts anymore, I feel kind of free. And I just love these crazy sounds that start flaring off at the end of this track, and these disordinate and sort of unorthodox beat bells and whistles are repeated through a couple different tracks, and just generally give the album a weird flavor that fits with the rest of the music. Those are the songs that I love on the album, and to be honest, these are some of the best Kanye West songs I've ever heard. But is this album perfect? No, there are songs on here that I don't like almost at all. All Mine has redeeming qualities, but generally takes on a tune that I don't care for. And Violent Crimes, instrumentally and lyrically, this song just does not taste very good to me. Kanye has previously made music about his daughter, how his daughter is going to change his life. This particular iteration of that concept is one that's been picked up on songs by Jay-Z, by Nas before, essentially saying, I used to be a pimp, I used to be a player. Essentially, these guys are saying, I used to be a D-bag as it pertains to relationships with women. On Violent Crimes, Kanye is trying to articulate that shift in perspective based on the fact that he now has this little woman in his life. which is all fine and dandy, and I'm glad that this is a feeling that is embraced. You know, but something still gets me about, well, why wasn't growing up with a single mother the thing that taught you the true value of women? Why didn't you stop treating women like shit when you got married? That's pretty important too. Either way, it's not really my business, but that is what's sort of preventing me from enjoying that song specifically. But at the very end of this project, I come away feeling like, yeah, it may not have been perfect, but what I heard at the very base, the very soul, the very inside of this album is Kanye West. I very much feel like I'm hearing his youthful self on this album, and it's really refreshing because I haven't quite been able to feel that way since his earliest projects. So essentially, I come away from this thing happy at the dynamic it takes on. The execution of every song isn't perfect, but man, are there some killer fucking tracks on this thing. So I give it a hot. And now, my bone to pick with you fans. Essentially, it all boils down to this. Kanye West does not owe you an explanation for any of the bullshit that he said in anticipation of this album coming out. In the same sense that you don't owe it to listen to his music, to buy his music, to engage with what he says before the music comes out. I can disagree all day, and I will, with a lot of the things that Kanye says and does. But what makes no sense to me is to get all riled up about what he says and does to further promote his album and then still listen to the album anyways. Or you're not listening to the album, but you're sort of still doing the same thing he would have guessed that you were going to do, which is vocalize your outrage at the fact that he is associating himself with Donald Trump. If the point of all of this is to rile people up, to ruffle some feathers and make some headlines, it obviously is, then I would consider your 5 tweets excoriating Kanye to essentially be equivalent to one stream of his lead single. So if you were holding on to your morals real tight and you refrained from listening to this album, first of all, I don't know why you would be watching this video, but good for you. But don't feed into the Kanye hype all the way up until the album and then sort of hope or even expect that he's gonna give you the reason why you were along for this ride the whole time. The rest to me is either you can separate Kanye and his art or you can't. At which point you should certainly not be playing into his end game. And yeah, that's my review and my rant for this Ye album by Kanye West. As always, I want to know what you're thinking on the project, what you have to say about what I have to say. Drop that down in the comment section below, and follow me on Instagram at 40ounces.of.dev. I have been Dev Del Molino. You have been so wonderful for watching, as always, and remember, art without favor is like a windmill without wind. Dev Del Molino, out.
You know, when I'm left to my own devices, I'm about as fashionable as Kanye is black. Only when it's convenient. You guys, that joke was my choice, just like slavery. Come on. He has a #1 album. He's all right.